Hey guys, Brandon Sweeney here again, and on today's video, we're gonna be going over a situation that a ton of homeowners are running into right now, which is, how do I sell my house and not end up homeless? I'm gonna answer that question for you, so let's jump into it. Okay, so on today's video, I'm gonna be going over 5 tips on how to sell your house and not end up homeless. Here's tip number 1. It may seem obvious, but you might want to consider moving in with friends or family because that's always a really great option on how to not end up homeless. I'll go through a scenario for you. So when you do end up getting a contract for your house, have you already decided where you're going to go? Because again, moving in with friends and family is the next logical step, and you might have already thought of this, but it's not always the most appealing option, right? You have to crowd someone else's space for the time being, but at the end of the day, if it's somewhere for you to live for the time being and make yourself that much more competitive when you do decide to buy, that's a win-win situation. Especially when you're selling your house, you likely have a ton of equity, so now you can leverage that equity when you do end up closing on the house and then moving in with your friends and family. Just a thought. So tip number 2, renting. Shocker, I know. When you do rent, there's some things to kind of consider when doing that, right? So you sell your house, let's say it's on the 30th of that month. Well, you're gonna wanna get into that rental a little bit early so that you have time to move all of your stuff over to that rental, make sure that you're all situated so that you don't hold up the closing for your buyers. Now, when you do sell and end up renting, you're going to be a stronger buyer at the end of the day because now you don't have a house to sell, but your accountant may have a conversation with you because now you're not getting the benefit of owning your house on your taxes. So when it comes to renting, you have some things to think about, right? Do you have a family pet that needs to come with you? Is that pet allowed at this new rental, right? Is this space big enough for you, your spouse, your children, whoever the case might be, right? But you need to figure out whether or not that space is suitable for your needs for the time being. If you get into a lease, that's also something that you'll want to consider because then when you do end up buying, do you have to work everything around that lease? Or are you month to month where you have that flexibility, you have that option on when you can close on that next house? So those are some things to think about when renting. Again, it's not always the best scenario for everybody, but renting is a great option for some. So for the third tip or option, how about a leaseback? Have you ever heard of it? A lot of people don't really know what a leaseback is and what it entails. So here's what it is. When you sell your house, you're basically asking the buyer to allow you to live in the house for an extended period of time after closing. So let's say your average closing is 30 days, 45 days, right? So on that 45th day, you're closing on your house. That doesn't mean that you're leaving your house that day. So the buyers are agreeing to allow you to live in your house for up to 60 days after closing. Why I say 60 days is because the banks put a requirement on that buyer to live in that house on the 60th day. That's built into the contracts that they sign with the bank, and that really is important when it comes to financing. So if that buyer doesn't live in the house on that 60th day, then it's an investment property and their rates, their charges will increase with that. So consider that. Leasebacks are a great option for a lot of people, and I've been using them in my business for a while now. When it comes to those sellers, the benefit for them is now they're not in a time crunch to leave their house. Now they get to close on their house, get the equity, get all of those proceeds from the closing, and then they are now, let's say 20% down buyers. If they built up enough equity throughout those years, now they're 20% down buyers with no home to sell. Because right now, a home sale contingency, it's near impossible to get that accepted. Leasebacks are a great option for a lot of sellers because now you can make those necessary arrangements when it comes to buying your next house. Now for the fourth option, holding two mortgages. I know it's a scary thought, but if you can hold your first mortgage, which would be for the house that you currently live in, and hold the second mortgage, which would be the house that you'd be purchasing, that's going to make you a stronger buyer because then the purchase is not subject to the sale of your house, which is detrimental in this market. No one's going to be accepting those offers. I don't mean no one, but it's very tough to get those offers accepted if you have a home sale contingency built into the offer. So I would suggest speaking with your lender, speaking with a financial advisor, as well as an accountant, which all of those industries are on my team. And we want to make sure that it's possible for you to hold both of these mortgages. So again, you are a much better suited buyer for that next property. Now, how we do that is we want to make sure that your house is ready to list without listing. So that means that we're going through all of the marketing strategies prior to even listing your house, meaning going through photos, videos, making sure that all of the descriptions and everything is ready to post your house so that, again, you're not holding that mortgage for too long after the sale of your next home. So again, holding two mortgages could be a great option for you. You just need to know the specifics on how that works in your favor. Here's your fifth option. How about pull the equity out of your house so that you can then be a cash buyer on the other end? I'll share how that works. So let's say you have your house to sell, right? But you want to buy on the other end. Again, much like all of these other scenarios, but this time you have so much equity built into your current house. Why not pull the equity out of that house so then you can be a cash buyer on the other side? This isn't for everybody because not everybody has all of that equity built into their house, right? Maybe this scenario is for that person who's living in their house for the past 30 years and has built up that equity over those 30 years. Right? So if you have that money in your house, use that money to then be a cash buyer. That's going to make that next house purchase that much easier because now that home seller, they see your cash offer. You can close quicker typically and a lot less hassle because there's no appraisal needed on that house. So if that's an option for you, again, you'll want to talk to a lender, an accountant, a financial advisor to make sure that that's doable for you. But the only thing that you really need to worry about there is let's get your house ready to list because again, like that last scenario, you want to make sure that you have all of your marketing in place so that when the time comes and your offer is accepted, you can jump onto listing your house so that you're not carrying this mortgage anymore. If that's an option for you, I'd suggest talking with your realtor and strategizing that next step. So those are the 5 tips that I recommend to all of my homeowners who are trying to sell their house and not end up homeless. If you found value in these tips, I'd suggest sharing that with your realtor so that you guys can game plan on which of these tips works best for you. Thank you all so much for watching. If you like this video, hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe because we're pushing out content every single month. And again, comment down below. Let me know what your thoughts of this video were and what you'd like me to cover in the future on this channel. Again, thank you so much for watching. Hope to see you in the next video.